For day 3 of Passion Week, I'd like to read from John chapter 17, verses 20 through 26. I do not pray for those alone, but also for those who will believe in me through their word, that they may be one, as you, Father, are in me, and I in you, that they also may be one in us, that the world may believe that you sent me. And the glory which you gave me, I have given them, that they may be one just as we are one, I in them and you in me, that they may be made perfect in one, and that the world may know that you have sent me, and have loved them as you have loved me. Father, I desire that they also, whom you gave me, may be with me where I am, that they may behold my glory, which you have given me. For you have loved me before the foundation of the world. O righteous Father, the world has not known you, but I have known you, and these have known that you sent me. And I have declared to them your name, and will declare it, that the love with which you loved me may be in them, and I in them. This is the last section of what is called the high priestly prayer. Now, before I go much further, I want you to just think about it. Have there been times when you've asked a particular individual to pray for you? Maybe you've asked a pastor, would you pray for me? And often we've done that simply because we've respected the office of the pastor, but there are people out there that will ask for a pastor or maybe a believer to pray for them simply because they seem to think that they have an in with God that they don't have. What's interesting about that is they're probably right. They probably don't know Christ, and so therefore they have no in with God, and the believer does. But here we have something spectacular taking place. We have the real Lord's Prayer. Now, I know most of us think that Matthew 6 is the Lord's Prayer. That really is the disciples' prayer. That is where Jesus tells or explains to the disciples a proper way to pray. Here's an example of how to pray. And Matthew 6 was never meant to be memorized as a prayer, such as we call it, the Lord's Prayer. But I digress just for a moment. But think about this. The real Lord's Prayer is found here. We call it the high priestly prayer. And it's all of John chapter 17. It can be broken down into 3 parts. Jesus prays for himself, verses 1 through 5. Jesus prays for his disciples in verses 6 through 19. And then Jesus prays for future believers in verses 20 through 26. And it's this last section, 20 through 26, that I want to focus on here today. Let me just read verses 20 through 22 as we get started. I do not pray for these alone, but also for those who will believe in me through their word, that they all may be one, as you, Father, are in me and I in you, and they also may be one in us, and that the world may believe that you sent me. And the glory which you gave me, I have given them, that they may be one just as we are one, I in them, and you in me, that they may be made perfect in one. This first section here talks about unity. But I want you to understand where the unity lies. It lies in our relationship with Jesus Christ in the same way Jesus has the relationship with his Father. This is not talking about denominational unity. This is not talking about ecumenicalism either. To have that kind of unity, especially ecumenical unity or denominational unity, of necessity would mean that compromises would have to be made in doctrine. And once that takes place, we end up with not only compromises in doctrine, but compromises on the gospel, and then compromises on the person and work of Jesus Christ. And painfully, that has been what we have seen in church history. What we're really looking at here, and what Jesus is praying for, is a unity that is found in the person of Christ, that is grounded in sound doctrine. And that's really important for us to remember. Paul, speaking to Titus, says this, holding fast the faithful word as he has been taught, that he may be able by sound doctrine both to exhort, convict those who contradict. So even in the early church, there was contradictions, there was divisions. We see that in the church of Corinth. People differed theologically. And much of the difference takes place simply because of our view of who Jesus Christ is. And so our Lord is praying for the disciples and praying for us that we would have a right view of the person and work of Christ. That will cross denominational barriers, and that will ground us in unity. Jesus goes on, and starting at verse 24, and he says, Father, I desire that they also whom you gave me may be with me where I am, that they may behold my glory which you have given me. For you loved me before the foundation of the world. What a prayer. Jesus here is saying, I desire that those who love me, those who have been called by my name, those whom I'm redeemed, I want to be with them, and I want them with me in glory. That's his desire, and that's what he prays for here. And we can be assured that prayer will be answered, because it is secured by the work of Christ on Calvary's cross. And so our Lord, because he loves us and desires to have that unity with us, also desires for you and I to be in glory with him in heaven. And now let me read verses 25 and 26. O righteous Father, the world has not known you, but I have known you, and these have known that you sent me. And I have declared to them your name, and will declare it, that the love which you loved me may be in them, and I in them. And so our Lord takes this prayer and he wraps it all up, and he says, this unity that I have with you, Father, and that I have with them, I want it all to be wrapped up in this bundle called love. But it's not just any love. It is a love that was born from God. It was love that was born through regeneration when Christ redeemed each of us. And then he says here in verse 26, and I have declared to them your name. Isn't that great? We know who Jesus Christ is. That the love with which you love me may be in them, and I in them. So we get to walk with Christ. We get to walk in his love. We get to walk in that intimate relationship of love and knowledge simply because he's revealed himself to us. And there will be a day coming when this prayer will be completely answered in its fullest. And you and I will find ourselves in glory with him. 1 John chapter 3, Beloved, now we are the children of God, and it has not yet been revealed what we shall be. But we know that when he is revealed, we shall be like him, for we shall see him as he is. We shall be like him. The completion of unity. All questions, all disagreements, all misunderstandings will be corrected in a moment, in a twinkling of an eye, when Jesus appears at the second coming of Christ. And we shall see him as he is, the fulfillment of that prayer of John 17.